Quick little note from me, guys. A lot of you guys, almost 70% of you guys, are actually not subscribed. It really helps us out here on the channel if you guys consider subscribing, especially if you're into Octane or you want to learn more. Consider hitting that subscribe button. It costs zero, but it does a world of motivation on my end. It helps me keep me going. And, I don't turn on ads for these YouTube videos, I keep them off just so you guys can enjoy these a little bit more better. And if you guys are really enjoying the content, it really does help us out here if you guys hit that subscribe button. I'll catch you in the next one. All right, guys, back with another video. This video is from inside my Blender Octane community, where we had a member was asking about converting materials from cycles to Octane materials. So we went on a live stream, which I do weekly inside the community. So if you're interested in learning more about this process, links down below, 7-day free trial. Let's get straight into the recording. All right, so here is this cycle setup. I'm just going to give you a quick crash course on why we have confusion here. So in this cycle, this is a PBR setup. They basically, the way I see it is it's a PBR setup because I see this right here. These are image maps. These are good. So that means you can use these PBR image maps. Okay. Then from here, what I do is I always since I know that this is the PBR, I'm going to go and follow the train back to our output. Okay, back to our output, which is going to be what we're going to see in the viewport. So then I know that this is the PBR. I look first, and if we look here, first of all, this is not even connected to anything. So again, they didn't clean up the file when they finished doing this. Like, why is this here if it's not really doing anything? It's not connected to anything. So that's another thing I look for when converting materials. Like, okay, this is just going to mess up Octane, and it's going to put an invert node in there, even though it's not connected to anything. And then this section here is I see, oh, we have this texture coordinate map, which is basically the same thing here. For us, this is Octane projection, like if it's a circle box projection. So they're using a UV projection. So this texture coordinate node in Octane is going to be this right here, UV projection. Okay, see that UV projection? We come here, UV projection. This right here is the translation or well, I forgot what they call it, what the hell, but basically your size, location, rotation, and scale in cycles. And then for us in Octane, that's this right here, the 3D transform node. Okay. So then I see it goes into another image map. So we got another image map, which we can use again. Then that's coming into a mix node right here. This is where things get weird for people coming from cycles to Octane. This mix node, what is exactly happening? Well, we got an A and a B slot. We've got this color right here, which is he's changing the hue right here because I can see there's a hue adjustment. They're adding a little bit of saturation and bringing down the value. Then they have a second one connected, which I guess they're adding back to hue, or and then adding saturation value. There's just minute tweaks using this hue saturation node. Hue saturation node for us in Octane is basically a color correction node. Here's our color correction node, right? So that's what these small, it's kind of counterintuitive. Like you add 40, then minus 40. So that's why I was saying I will simplify this as possible. I would just rip out both of these and just put one in. And you still need to see what it's doing in the viewport. But anyways, so we've got this chain. These three hue saturation nodes are changing the color of this rose or something. And then they're being piped into A. And then they even separated one and go piped into B. This right here can be simplified to nothing. But anyways, it's coming into this mix node. This color mix node, we also do have one in Octane. And it's called you go down here to Octane texture, you go to right here, Octane color mix nodes. This is our version of this. Basically, color input for us is just the color mix. There's our mix. There's our clamp results, clamp factor, and this is basically that. What I want is minused out, right? And then our A and B. The only thing is with Octane, this is basically an OSL script on the back end. So if you have a whole bunch of these in your node setup, like I could just build my node with this will start to slow down your viewport and your render. Okay. This is just a temporary node to help people who are transitioning from cycles and they're used to building materials using these mixed nodes. You could use the same thing and mimic that. And then you just get a hue saturation node and you could just mimic it. But the true power of Octane is this composite texture node. This composite texture node is kind of almost doing what he is doing here with this mix node. This allows us to mix stuff, stack stuff. Like he's doing some math. We're just mixing A and B. That's all we're doing. In Octane, hey guys, do a big favor. If you're getting any value from this video, consider hitting that subscribe button so I can keep making more videos like this for you guys. We use this texture composite node, which allows us to stack it in layers like in Photoshop. So I take A was now is going to be layer 2, and B is going to, oh, sorry, A is layer 1, and then B is layer 2. So I'm stacking them on top of each other. And then we're going to do some math. Like, well, how do we do the math? I don't see it. Well, that's when whenever you do one of these, it pops out one of these. It pops out one of these little panels here. And then this panel allows us to put in the input, and then we can control the opacity. Then I can come in here and do my mix. I can do whatever I want to do math wise, right? So in reality, I'm still doing the same thing right here, but I'm not using this one node here. Let me just copy and bring it over. So this whole setup right here is basically this setup. That's the thing with Octane and Cycles. Cycles makes things it's very simple to use. It's very, like I always say, if you're flying an airplane, it's a little propeller Cessna plane, very simple controls, very simple readouts. Then you come into Octane and you're going into like a 747 jumbo jet. If you ever looked in the cockpit of those big international planes, there's buttons and dials and all kinds of stuff everywhere. That's what Octane is compared to Cycle. So this is Octane. This is Cycle's version. This is Octane's version. Now, some people are like, well, why do you need all this? This just gives us more control. Like this, I can only add in 2, and that's it. Then I have to duplicate another one, and then I have to take this and go like this, and then I have to go like this, and then I have to go like this and keep chaining them. And that's why he's chaining them, like kind of doing this kind of chain thing, right? Well, I don't have to do that in Octane. I can just take these guys and say, hey, I need another layer. Boop, pop out another layer, bring this up here, and then add in my input, and then add in my, this gives us more control. We can control the opacity, and then I can still do the math, and I have even more control of how things are being overlaid. And then alpha, like again, 747, lots of extra control. Now you might not need that. You just want to keep it more simple, but that's the main thing. So once you get to understand how this thing here works, this really starts to make things more simple in Octane. And it took me a while to figure out, like, why the heck do I need to use this? Well, this is actually really powerful because you can start layering things like you would in Photoshop. And if you think about this as layers, things get easier. So we've got these 2 materials here, and we're layering them. So we're taking the output and he's putting it into the input, and then we're taking this and putting it into the input here, and this is the opacity. So let's see what that's actually doing to the render here. Let me pop that open, and let's go ahead and solo. Which one are we on? I think we're on Rose 1. Oh, that's fine. Let's just take that one. Let's solo that. You follow me? You got any questions? You all right? I know this is a lot.
Yeah. Everything is okay.
Okay, so let's look at our flower here. Here is our flower. And let's see first. So I always like to look, and when I broke this down, I was like, okay, first thing first, I want to see what's this doing? Like, the heck with all this in between. What's this? What is this? Let's just look at that, right? That's what this is. Okay, it's like some image, right? Like, okay, that's what that looks like. And then what I even do is I still come in here. You should unpack these again, but I haven't, the other file was more packed. I come down here, and like, that's what this is. It's just what is it? A PNG with a diffuse color of a rose. Well, you know what? Honestly, let's just start with that. Let me just take all of this, whatever they were doing here, and disconnect that and disconnect this. And I'm just going to go ahead and plug this straight into this input here. Okay. So we don't even see any color. And we're like, well, I wonder why we don't see any color, right? Well, reason why we don't see any color right at the moment, we do see a little bit of color, but why? Well, this is actually going into the transmission. Now, the transmission this is actually providing our transparency, like that. You can see how the light's coming through it. That's what this is actually doing right here. So let's see what this next one here, this next image, what is this? What is this doing? Let me go ahead and solo that. Oh, well, this is a black and white. Whenever I see black and white, that means it's a mask of some sort. This is a mask of some sort. And then again, let me come back and put that back normal. And then I want to see what is this doing exactly? What is this file? Up, that's all it is. That is definitely a mask. Okay. So that tells me this. Oh, that they have it plugged into the opacity, which is proper. That's where it should be because it's a mask. So if I unplug that, let's see what happens. Still a little bit ghosty because again, we're looking at just transparency right now. Okay, so let's plug that back in here. So we've got these two objects. Make sure I turn that back on and that's on. Okay, this is on. Good. These are both coming in here. So if we unhook that, what happens? Again, this is a translucent material. I think this is a specular material. Yeah, and it renames it. So that's why we see what we see here. And when you're also working with plants, at least with leaves, there's a very important right here. This just got added to cycles. Like this is their new thing, and they're all raging about it. Like we've had this in Octane forever. Thin wall. Thin wall meaning if I turn that off, right now it's acting like more like glass or plastic right now. Okay. Like a thick plastic or a glass. But there are materials in life like a leaf. I got like my, a leaf, which this leaf, like it's got transparency as I hold it up to the light. It's a thin type of material style. Well, we need the thin wall. We have to turn the thin wall on when you're doing leaves and things like that. So go ahead, boop. And that's why it gets super wispy, but that's okay. That's what we actually need and that's what we want. So this also, when I come off this train here, this transparency node, if we come back over, so now if I come back to the cycles again, what's going on? Here's our principal BFD. It's being mixed with a translucent BFD, with a transparent shader. It's being mixed. So they have two. Well, we come back over to Octane. Well, we're doing the same thing. Here is our specular material, aka transparent. This is our transparent, and it's being mixed with a universal material. And this universal material has the albedo color that we need to get the red. So if we follow that line back up, again, now we're using the same data right here. Again, we're coming back to that composite texture which actually has that bloom flower that we saw earlier. We have that, and then we have that mask. We're taking this whole setup and we're just piping it straight in. Let's go ahead and just disconnect. If you guys are getting value from this video, consider hitting the subscribe button. It's free and it helps me keep going and keeps me making more stuff for you guys to understand Blender Octane. Peace. This mix, and let's just see what this is doing, the universal material. Okay, boom. This is without the transparency. Now look at it in the sun. We don't see that transparency. We lost it. Well, because we're not using it. We're just using this setup just for the color, right? See, if I pull that out, this is basically just the red color. And this is why these composite textures are really powerful because it just gives you more control. Like I can control this if I really wanted it. So boom, there's that. And then if we come over here and turn this one off, let's see what this is doing. This mask one is not really doing too much. This is more for the okay, we lost the color because again, we were using this top one here, this one for our color. This was our color, so we lost the color. And then opacity, what happens if we unplug that? Nothing really too much. So this mask is really mainly being used for the transparency. And let's plug that back into here. All right, so there's our color. All right, that's just the diffuse color. And we're just using just this one node here. So that's why we just do the mix. So we're just using the mix to get that transparency because flowers and plant leaves have that little bit of transparency. So we mix those two. We mix the transparency and we mix the color. Put that back in here. Boom. Now, the main thing when you're converting stuff from Octane, from cycles to Octane, it's not a one-to-one match. This converter add-on gets us about 75 to 85% there. We still need to come in and tweak. Like when I first set it up, it was probably set to something like, this. And it was like way too much. Like this doesn't look natural. Like a rose doesn't leak that much light into it. So again, it's personal. You just come in here. I looked at some real world reference. I just looked for like roses, like, see, that's like fake. That doesn't look right, right? So this is where you'll just come in and like if you have a rose, hold it up to the light and just try to match it and try to get it in that zone. And that looks about right. And this is where that mask comes in because that mask is gonna, I think, filter how much of that black blocks and then white lets the light in. So black conceals, white reveals. Let me remove this. And that's still really not doing that much. Like it should be doing more, but it's really not doing that much. Yeah. So once we had that, that was the basics. And then I looked at, okay, well, what's next? What else are they doing here? They do have a normal. Okay, normal. There goes the normal is being pumped into a normal map, which they need to do in cycles. And then that's going into the normal. Well, for us, we don't need this normal map node. We can just plug straight into the normal, right? So here is that other image. And this image is again like, what is it? I want to see what it's doing. I want to see what it looks like. So I always solo it, and there it is. Okay. And then again, I want to see what that is actual source wise. Oh, it's a normal map. Okay. This that doesn't show up in the actual preview. We know that that's just going to go straight plugged right into the normal. And another thing just to keep track, which is going to, it's a non-colored data, color space, non-colored data, because it's not a color map. So we have to make sure we change it right here from sRGB. They come in default, but this add-on converts them and it knows, which is really nice, but that's non-colored data. So once we got that, I plug that into the normal, and here we are. And I look at it and I'm like, okay, well, up there we go. Now I can see this edge, right? This little bit of texture here. And again, when I by default, when it converted it, it was set to about defaulted to one. And I was like, I will jump over to my other scene, to my cycle scene, and look at it and compare it. And I'm like, in cycles, it had a little bit more detail. So then I was like, okay, well, I can just come to my node here, my node, and just change the power. Just come to the power and just say, let me just give it a little bit more. I cranked it up to like 4, right? You can still crank it up to 3.5 or whatever you want. This is where the artistic and your personal choice comes into play, where you feel like, okay, looking at a rose, I see this much, and okay, that feels about right there. So that's basically how I would go through that. And then also don't get in the habit of just looking at it from one view all the time. I always tend to rotate this light around here, come in here, and just to, see how things are. Bring this light around. Let me see if I can, there we go. Just viewing it from different light positions, seeing how the light's playing with it, like how much of that transparency are we getting cutting through. That looks cool, right? Coming to the other side here. I'm just kind of seeing like, oh, okay, that looks not too bad. I think we probably could get maybe just a little bit more transparency. And then it's still, this is just a default scene that we're working with. Once you actually have your rose in your render and in your jewelry render and how you have your light position, you're still going to probably tweak the materials even more to that setup, to that, location of where you have it in there.